The submersible Artemis III separated from the surface world at 0430 hours.
Slipping beneath the waters with barely a ripple.
I felt the familiar compression in my inner ear as we began our long fall into darkness. At 600 meters, the darkness became absolute. Our lights revealed a perpetual storm of marine snow.
My instruments registered the anomalies that brought us here. We descended toward an invisible terrain.
Below us rested the Empress Catherine, lost in 1912.
The cold had preserved them. The pressure had sealed them. Now, we had come to bring them home.
We found ourselves on the edge of an undersea canyon, a landscape no human eye had ever witnessed.
We began our search pattern, moving at walking speed across an eternal desert. For 2 hours, we followed the grid. The monotony was profound.
Then, Webb gestured to the viewport.
There was no time for meditation on mortality. We had work to do.
Webb piloted us along the hull, searching for the cargo holds. We found a breach large enough to enter.
Inside, the ship's interior had become a cave system from a nightmare.
We entered the main hold, and there they were, rows of steel containers, upright despite everything. The pressure had compressed the gaskets into perfect seals. Inside, a fortune waited.
I activated the manipulator arm. Our work required infinite patience.
Webb maintained our position with micro adjustments, burning battery reserves to give me a stable platform.
Above, in the operations center, they watched through our cameras. The excitement was palpable, contained.
We needed to select 3 containers for recovery, a test run, before committing to the rest.
The lifting cables descended from above like threads from an enormous spider. Each cable carried a harness designed to cradle the containers without crushing them.
The work was painstaking. The slightest error could compromise everything.
20 minutes to secure the first strap. Rust showered away like blood in the water.
The third strap took half an hour. Then, the hydraulic system tightened the embrace. After 4 hours in the hold, the critical phase was complete. The containers were ready.
Webb triggered the signal. Far above, the winches engaged.
The ascent began at 5 meters per minute. We followed, observing for any sign of stress.
The containers climbed through a realm of creatures with no names, trailing captured stars.
Larger creatures appeared. Ancient species, watching our strange procession with disinterest. At 500 meters, the first natural light appeared, a reminder of the world above. We broke through into the gray light of a North Atlantic morning. The disorientation was immediate.
Heave away, watch the lines, keep it steady.
Clear on the port side!
All secure, lock it down.
We climbed out on shaking legs, our bodies protesting the long confinement.
We joined Hammond to watch the final stage. The waiting was almost over.
20 minutes later, the first container emerged. Water streamed from it like a berth.
The crane took the weight, swung it inboard, and lowered it onto the padded deck with perfect control.
Hammond gave the signal. It was time to see what 80 years of darkness had preserved.
The first lock resisted. The second yielded. The third hissed open, its seal perhaps still perfect.
Handbags, gloves, boots, briefcases. Each piece a pinnacle of craft from 1912, perfectly preserved. Each bore the marks of legendary workshops. Craftsmen whose names had become history, their techniques lost.
I had expected decay. Instead, I witnessed a miracle of preservation.
No one spoke. Language seemed inadequate to the moment.
Gloves so fine they seemed translucent, stitched with a precision that demanded magnification.
Boots of python skin, tanned to an impossible softness. Their shape had survived the abyss itself.
I thought of the leather workers, anonymous craftsmen whose skill created objects that could survive anything.
This had been a business venture. But standing here, she recognized something more.
Even they were affected. This was not just merchandise. It was heritage, history.
The deck crew saw what their labor had preserved, and it was worthy.
Outside, the North Atlantic rolled on, infinite and cold. Beneath it, the wreck rested in its grave.
I felt the touch of the deep, the memory of that darkness, the privilege of having gone there and returned with proof.
We stood in silence, sharing a moment none of us would forget, honoring the unknown craftsmen
and the dark ocean that had kept them safe until they could be brought home.
The operation shifted to preservation. The recovered pieces were sealed in a controlled environment.
Phase 1 is a complete success. 14 containers remain.
My hands remembered the strain of the manipulator controls. A phantom tension lingered in my joints. The ocean outside was black again. But now, I knew exactly what lay in its heart. I needed to record the details. The feeling of the hold. The look of the marine snow in our lights.
On the bridge, they maintained our precise position over the wreck. The connection to the deep remained open.
While we slept, the conservators began their meticulous work. Gentle brushes revealing century-old luster.
At first light, preparations began for Dive 2. The submersible was refitted, recharged, and made ready.
The team expanded. We had more containers to retrieve, and the weather window was finite.
Your target is Hold 4, aft section. The structure there is more compromised. Extreme caution.
Remember, the auxiliary power switch is highly sensitive now. Just a light tap.
I watched Artemis III disappear beneath the waves. My role now was surface support. It felt strange.
Descent nominal, passing 400 meters.
It's like another planet down here.
Wait until you see the wreck. That's the wreck.
Kapoor piloted them toward the aft section. The damage here was more extensive, more violent.
Access point Alpha is blocked. Moving to Bravo.
The planned routes were obsolete. They were navigating by sight, in real time.
They found a way in. Hold 4 confirmed. We have visual on multiple containers.
The containers here had not fared as well. The ship's twist had stressed them.
Focus on the intact ones. Prioritize the 2 marked D4 and D5.
The delicate work began anew. In tighter quarters, with less room for error. The wreck was not a static museum. It was a dying structure, shedding pieces of itself.
You're at 4 to 5% power, I said into the mic. The clock was ticking faster this time.
Container D4 secure. Moving to D5.
Artemis III, report.
Do you have visual?
Visual reacquired. Just some abyssal dust. Proceeding with D5.
They worked faster now. A well-practiced team against the draining battery.
Battery at 38%.
Artemis III, this is Hammond. Initiate ascent sequence now. That is an order.
Hammond's command brooked no argument. Safety over salvage.
They left one behind. A potential fortune, secured only by a few straps, waiting for the next dive.
The ascent was routine, but the mood was different. They had been forced to leave a prize behind.
The second recovery was efficient, successful, but it carried the taste of the unfinished.
The compromised container yielded little. A single salvageable boot, a symbol of all that was lost.
Webb said what we all felt. It's not just metal down there. It's a clock, ticking. And we're racing it.
Operations continued around the clock. The weather reports showed a front moving in. Our window was closing.
We have 48 hours before the storm forces us to secure and run, she told us. We go back at dawn.
The air was cold and damp, a prelude to the storm.
Our world was titling around us. Pre-dive checks, rapid cycling, altimeter stabilized, pressure equalization green, thrusters armed, drop sequence engaged.
We separated from the world in a gray, wet dawn. The storm was coming. This was our last chance.
I went to work without a word. Every second counted. The battery read 60%.
D5 secure. Moving to D6.
One down. How many more could we dare?
The wreck groaned around us, a deep, metallic sigh. The structure was waking up.
On the surface, the sensors told a grim story. The wreck was becoming unstable.
Abort D6. Secure D5 and ascend immediately.
Structural degradation is accelerating.
Chen, Webb, abort D6. Secure D5 and ascend immediately. Repeat, abort and ascend. Structural degradation is accelerating.
We left a fortune behind.
The ascent was a silent vigil. We watched the numbers, listened to the strain of the ship above pulling the container home.
A new alarm. The tether was under stress. The storm was making its presence known from the surface down. We surfaced into a different world. Gray had turned to furious green and white.
Recovery was brutal, a battle against the sea. Grace was gone. It was pure necessity.
Hammond called it. We ran for shelter. The leather tombs would keep their remaining secrets.
The Vindication has secured all assets. Well done, everyone.
Data logs confirmed, Captain. The samples are stable.
You did the impossible. You brought history back from a place designed to erase everything. Be proud.
I looked at the calm sea and saw only the darkness beneath. The crushing pressure.
The ocean forgets nothing and reveals only.
2 weeks later, we delivered what we had recovered to the world. The transition from sea to land felt abrupt, final.
The real work began on land. Each piece required documentation, conservation, and study.
These were no longer salvage. They were artifacts. Each stitch, each hide told a story of pre-war craftsmanship.
Hammond offered me a contract for the next expedition.
There were other wrecks, other leather tombs.
He didn't argue. Instead, he gave me a gift.
A consultant's fee.
It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And the heaviest. I left Iceland with a single artifact. The rest would go to auctions, to museums, to private collections.
6 months later, I stood before my students. The story was now a lecture. The Anthropocene of the Abyss. The wreck was not a time capsule. It was an active participant. The cold, the pressure, the chemistry of the... 6 months later, I stood before my students. The story was now a lecture. The Anthropocene of the Abyss. The wreck was not a time capsule. It was an active participant. The cold, the chemistry of the...
I watched them struggle to reconcile the beautiful glove with the crushing, lightless grave it was recovered from.
The pieces entered the world again. They became art, fashion, symbols of a recovered past.
The venture was a triumph. The investors were repaid tenfold. Hammond's reputation was cemented. The search continued. Our success opened wallets for other deep-sea ventures. The hunt for sunken treasure had a new blueprint.
Webb found his peace in scale models, recreating the machine that had been his world in the deep.
And far below, the Empress Catherine continued her slow dissolution. The containers we left behind were being swallowed by the sea.
I wrote to understand it. The ethical calculus of disturbing a grave to save beauty.
In the reflection, I was no longer just myself. I was a link in a chain that spanned the abyss. It was a beautiful object, but it was also a piece of a tomb. That duality would never leave me.